he pretty much just didn't win anything in majors or anything like that. He just got all his points through Open Cup, and you know, it just goes to show that there are multiple ways to qualify. But let's talk less about that, more about this now as we get into game one of the day. Snowman versus Zorkthor. It's going to be Snowman on the Quest Rogue, as we can see, and Zorkthor looking like potentially an aggressive Shaman list here with the Hammer of Twilight.
Yeah, now we have revealed the information that this is an aggressive Shaman. Of course, we have no knowledge of the deck lists in this tournament. The opposing players have no knowledge of the deck lists in the tournament. Big difference between this and HCT, where the deck lists are public on both sides. You know, you guys can see them playing at home. We know the deck lists. The opposing players know the deck lists. So now we know this is an aggressive Shaman from Zorkthor. He's definitely got the better of the pick here, even before Italy got to make their choice. I would imagine that is, you know, an aggressive Druid or a very, very slow ramp Druid from Snowman. So whichever one he picked, this or that or this Rogue, the aggressive Shaman was going to have a good matchups. This is a smart pick from Norway and Zorkthor. The aggressive Shaman was likely to be favored no matter which deck it went up against.
Yeah, it's one of the few controlling factors you have where when you see the classes and know the rough archetypes, you can already make a bit of a spot decision there. And see the old Firefly getting played first, which is going to be nice. Card we've talked about a lot in this tournament, actually, because it's just played so commonly. It's really going to help out with the Flame Tongue Totem, for example, and just sticking stuff to the board. And against Quest Rogue, if anything, it does stay on the board on, you know, Snowman's side. It's probably going to get cleaned up by these Fireflies.
Yes, and I imagine this is just going to be a totem turn from Zorkthor because he can immediately charge his patches that I imagine is in there with the Bloodsail Corsair alongside the Flame Tongue Totem next turn.
Yep.
Just make sure he gets immediate double value out of it. But let's take a look over the other side of the board and talk about the elephant in the room, which is Quest Rogue, and a Quest Rogue that has drawn Shadow Step in its opening hand, which I don't know if there's data on this out there yet. You know, there's a lot of kind of analyst websites and Twitter accounts out there these days that do great work in terms of evaluating the win rate, not just of decks, but of specific situations, right? Like, how often do you win when you play South Sea Captain on 3 in Pirate Warrior, for example? I would love to know the win rate of Quest Rogue when you have Shadow Step in your opening hand, because I imagine it is enormous.
Or maybe more specifically Shadow Step and a minion.
Well, there's a fairly good chance there
Shadow
is
Step, Shadow Step,
minion.
Quest, Vanish.
Yeah, sure.
That might be a problem. But yeah, you know, I'm only messing with you. I completely agree. And now with 2 deck hands, when you get a 2 of in your hand this early, that just makes it so much easier. One of the additional procs, if he's going to go for the deck hand, means that that's just free. You don't even need a bounce effect because you just have 2 of them already. It's kind of crazy.
There is a concern with deck hand and with Swashbuckler as well, where those are nice cards to activate the quest with, you know, Swashbuckler in particular, because it's resource generation as you bounce it. But one of the most powerful things you can do with this deck is play South Sea Deckhand, or, you know, to a lesser extent, the other Pirate Swashbuckler after you've activated your quest, because then you pull patches as a 5/5 charger from your deck. So much more explosive turn. So as this deck is getting more and more refined, people's play with this deck is getting more and more refined. We're seeing players try to hold on to their first Pirate until after they're activating the quest.
Also, as well, just the fact that charges in general, the deck hands have charge.
Yes,
so again,
exactly. Right.
You know, as well as the patches interaction, much more powerful when you're charging a 5/5 than a 2/1, just to, you know, bounce it back into hand and carry on again.
You don't say. 1 mana charging 5/5s are good, huh?
So I've heard.
Yeah.
I'm not one to play Quest Rogue myself, but so I've heard. I'm on the receiving end of them, and it is definitely almost game a lot of the time when the quest is played out under a safe circumstance. You know, the road doesn't die the following turn.
Yeah.
And I've seen turns like deck hand with patches, bore, and you're just like, oh, I guess I lose. You know, and that's what you mean about the charges, right?
That's
it's just so much more powerful.
Not even enough ambition, Raven. It's South Sea Deckhand plus summoning patches plus another charger, prep Vanish, and then kill you. That's just 30. Yeah.
Wow.
What a deck.
What a deck indeed. Glad we're not doing that from the New Zealand perspective. That could sound a little bit different, but with Flame Tongue Totem now, you're getting the value down. The Totem does mean that it's not going to get instant, like the Flame Tongue value from patches, but still, it's a lot of pressure, and this is one of the ways you can punish this style of rogue.
Yep.
You just kill them before they do anything anyway.
Well, that is the quest. That's all the resources that he needs anyway, but still not a automatic decision because Deckhand is a fairly weak minion to bounce in the first place, and because he pulls that Patches, but now he's reaching the point in the game where there's so much pressure staring him down, especially now he's lost that dagger charge, which is just a net loss to his board control as well, that maybe that Patches coming out as a 1-1 now is actually just a necessary evil in terms of controlling the board.
Yeah, you can actually just pick off the totem, for example, with it. All the other Patches, but you probably go with the totem here, unless you're thinking about Vanish later on. You don't want to leave Patches in hand after that. Also, as well, most importantly, what do you think of I think this is actually a hoodie that Xogthar's wearing, but it looks like it could be a cardigan-style pattern. So what do you think of that song?
It is a fake pretender to the cardigan pro.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're a purist.
I am.
Not a surprise at all, if I had to guess. So the Flameton Totem's going to get cleared up by this deckhand, and now we'll see what the grand plan is. If we see a Shadow Step, yeah, we do, okay. Yeah, if we see the Shadow Step, then it's pretty much Italy committing to this deckhand as the proccing minion for the quest.
Yeah, that is the quest complete, I believe, next turn if he wants it. Deckhand Ferryman would put 2 more deckhands back in hand, and then he'd have 2 mana remaining to play them both back out again. But not a lot of value to charging a deckhand a bunch of times when there's a 5-5 taunt in the way. So might just need a little bit of extra planning here. Now there is a 5-5 on the board. That Glacial Shard is looking quite promising as well.
Yeah, combined with the Igneous Elemental now that's been drawn, although the main point of Igneous Elemental is that you get the double Flame Elementals, but you know, don't need them to proc the quest, but still having just the minions on board is nice. It still generates potentially 1 mana 5-5s later in the game, but yeah, I think the Glacial Shard to freeze out the 5-5 is going to be very important here.
It's like he's just going to try and rush this out. Does have the Vanish, so if he can load up the quest, get this part of the game done, he has the Vanish to buy a turn later on, and then if he still has enough health remaining at the end of that... he's going to go Glacial Shard instead. Yeah, this makes sense. Just bounce it once, play the Shard. Now he has Deckhand with the quest potentially next turn, can play 2 Deckhands for 1 mana and coin out the quest, so in decent shape.
Yeah, one of the key cards as well, or like back-breaking cards, I would say, when you're against Quest Rogue is Prep. Prep Vanish is insane, Prep Quest is insane as well, as it opens up more minions to be played on that turn. The quest is live, so if Italy draw into a Prep very soon, this could help them out quite dramatically. Is it going to be a Stone Tusk Boar for this turn, though? Good to have the charges available.
It is, and 2 charging 5-5s this turn is definitely going to help. They've held on to that coin now, and that is quest complete. At 4 after 4, 5 mana Crystal Core goes into the hand, so Coin Crystal can now charge 5-5s. And this is essentially 3 charging 5-5s because Norway chose to disrespect the 2-3 on the board. They, of course, didn't have the knowledge that the second deckhand was in hand. So still, you know, a relative big ask for Italy to be able to proc the quest and coin the quest that turn. Just took the risk with the hand they have, Lava Burst and Jade Lightning, to end the game as quickly as possible. But that has come back to bite them just a little bit. Now there's that extra 5-5 charger. And smart from Italy as well. This is something that you do kind of pick up step by step as you play along with this deck, is that they traded off the minion with the lowest value to return to their hand. The 2 mana Gadgets and Ferryman, if they pick up another bounce effect, they're not going to want to bounce the Ferryman, they're going to want to bounce these charging minions instead, so they chose to kill off the lowest value minion.
Yeah, Firefly a bit of a dud draw here for Norway, because you can see the plan already, as you mentioned, right? You know, I'll leave the minions up and just kill him before it happens. Yeah. You know, it happened a little bit too quick for Norway and Xogthar here, but there's still Lava Burst, Jade Lightning available, plus the swing from the weapons going to generate a minion on board as well. He just has to work out exactly how he needs to put this together and what he needs to draw to get the win. So looking at probably a Lightning Bolt at some point for next turn. We might even see just Jade Lightning Hero Power or Jade Lightning Firefly and Flame Elemental to just put more stuff on the board.
Yeah.
Just something to pile on pressure and make Snowman consider trading for a turn.
Yeah, if they Jade Lightning face this turn and then swing everything to face, generate the extra token on board and, you know, dunk that damage in, then if they draw damage on the next turn, that is just going to be lethal. Yeah. And I imagine from this position, the fight for board control when your opponent has a bunch of 1 mana 5-5s and 2 mana cards that generate 2 5-5s, one of which is a taunt, I think you have to accept that your fight for board control is over at this point. But Norway disagree. They're going to try and keep this going for an extra turn or 2.
Or just get enough minions that he actually pushes the damage through minions.
That's fair.
And can actually, because he can still Jade Lightning and Lava Burst next turn. So that's still going to be 9 available. So no spell damage totem and can't even go for one next turn. But this is still a reasonable board here.
Youthful Brew pickup means that they can push 15 damage this turn, 16 with the hero power as well. That is not quite good enough. So it's looking like if they vanish this turn, can they kill on the next turn? Though they won't have mana available to get the dagger up and play all the charges and bounce them.
They won't need to, right? They can push 5 damage this
Oh, they can push 5 right
you
now.
put them to 15 this turn, next turn you win after Vanish. So I think that's going to be the play for Snowman here. It's pretty much the only play, as when your opponent does this style, you know those cards in hand. At least one is burst, right? You know, at least one, because you just wouldn't completely ignore everything if you could have had any other play here. So that's going to be the play, and now it's going to be all on a... Well, that's just game unless it's a taunt rolled, right? Oh no, because the Brewmaster is just going to power through everything anyway.
Jade Lightning pickup means if they had committed to face on the previous turn with everything and not died, which of course is a risk that they are facing as well if they don't trade with any of the minions.
They are facing.
Yes,
I like it.
Exactly. Then that Jade Lightning could have actually just ended the game alongside the Lava Burst, but now Zorkthar is just going to have to commit to trying to end this over 2 turns, has more than enough burst to cover this. But now Dagger Up is 2 mana, the 2 deckhands make 4, Youthful Brewmaster is 6, and then another charger would be 7, even if the boar wasn't there.
Yeah, I was going to say, with the boar, it just closes this out very, very easily, very manageable. And very interesting play from Zorkthar there. I genuinely thought, because the start has been so minion heavy from the Shaman, the odds on you drawing burn so high.
Right.
Like, so high. We've not seen Lightning Bolts. I don't know what's in the deck, but still another Lava Burst, another Jade Lightning that we saw. Lightning Bolt.
Searching this team is the Italian team are actually very, very used to and comfortable with each other. They all represent the same team anyway. It's just worked out in the way that this entire squad of players that are probably used to labbing out and practicing together have ended up as the Italian team. So see if that gives them any kind of advantage just in terms of communication, probably just have a closer synergy in terms of ideas of what they think is strong or not, because they've tested it all together in the first place, whereas there might be a bit more conflict between some of the other teams on opinions as to which decks to bring. Speaking of things that are strong, Alley Cat Scavenging Hyena opening generally can be game-winning.
Yep, against a lot of decks, and also against Hunter, because if it grows like that 1 stage past 3, doing 4 is very difficult unless you roll exactly Huffer on an animal companion, or this Crackling Razormaw could get some work done as well. But that is, the second you miss the adapt onto Poisonous or plus attack, whatever's needed, you probably just lose, actually. It can be that tough, actually. So instead, this is going to be rough. Italy's opening hand is
that's so big.
Oh, never mind, yeah.
I was about to say, the saving grace here for Italy was that they were going first, but going first means nothing if you don't hit your 1-drop. You want to go first in the Hunter Mirror because it gives you the initiative to do things like turn 1 Alley Cat, turn 2 Scavenging Hyena. If you don't hit your 1-drop, you essentially then just pass that initiative back to your opponent to do the same thing back to you.
Yeah, and I think there are very sort of rigid responses to openings like this based on what Diggan's got. I think he almost has to Alley Cat coin Macaw. Oh, Macaw coin Alley Cat, actually, in terms of ordering.
What about just coin Grandma?
It just gets blown out by Razormaw, though.
Does it?
It can be just double traded, right? One procs to Razormaw, the other one you're probably going to get +1/+1, +3 attack, poisonous,
But then, you in that situation, your opponent who was going first has a 3-2 on the board against nothing on turn 2. That's not really a blowout, right? They've just kept that little bit of initiative that they had.
Sure, I think it's just with the follow-up of what Hyena means that, well, that just dies to the Razormaw, and Hyena's very key.
Sure.
So I think this gives you the highest chance to make something happen next turn and beat the board down, because Hunter will just run away with it, and we can see from Yawgmoth that actually this Direwolf does very little except represent a 2/2 on board. Can push for extra damage, but again, battling for the board is very important because Hunter is generally a snowball deck, but also can actually just, the second you lose out in the mirror, it's even harder.
Yes. I do want to go back to the 1-drop dilemma for Team Italy is that they actually mulliganed away a Crackling Razormaw from their opening hand, I believe, which is the most powerful early game card on average in the Hunter deck. It can just snowball the board enormously if you land it on a 1-drop. So that Alley Cat that came out as the very last draw on turn 1, that might have looked like a lucky draw, but they fully maximized their chances of getting a 1-drop. They recognized how important that was, and it's a justified reward for that decision.
It's going to be interesting this play here, because if you develop the Direwolf this turn, which, yeah, okay, it means that anything that gets played next turn, you have Unleash for.
Yes.
With probably Direwolf buff. Probably. Because this would need either a Direwolf response or a Razor Maw to be able to deal with it.
Yep.
So, probably feeling pretty good with this Direwolf on board here for Italy.
Norway now just considering how much they fear this Direwolf, because obviously they can contest it directly with Scavenging Hyena, but Scavenging Hyena is just such a high resource card for you. It's such a huge threat, especially in the Hunter Mirror. Choosing just to play out the Grandmother here, and now, as you said, this is a pretty solid value Unleash the Hounds. Pop open the Grandma with the Direwolf, and then use the 2 Unleash Dogs to clear the remainder of the board.
Yeah, I like it. You actually can clear off, leave the Direwolf alive.
Yep.
And more importantly, with double Houndmaster, you want a Beast alive next turn.
Exactly.
And again, unless there's bow or kill command on a 2-1, then, you know, that Direwolf is actually going to live, and then suddenly the Houndmaster chain starts rolling. It's going to be looking very, very good here. Rat Pack just feels okay. It's probably going to get some work done, but again, not going to be enough on its own against the Houndmaster.
Yeah, the Houndmaster exchange now, wow, that is an Emerald Reaver, guys.
Okay, so with my in-depth knowledge of Hunter decks and development over this expansion,
Hit me.
Emerald Reaver was played by like Nick Chipper, for example, in some of his like day 1 builds.
Okay.
But it was swiftly rotated out because it does 1 damage to each player. It's another 1-drop.
Yeah.
But I think it was very quickly decided that as soon as you're not playing Quest Hunter, the extra 1-drop slide, because that is an extra 1-drop. You have Fiery Bats, you have Alley Cats, you have the Macaws as well. That's already 6.
I know Emerald Reaver is Emerald Reaver a beast? I'm pretty sure it is.
Yes,
right?
it
Yeah.
is, yeah.
But like even with the beast tag, I would play Firefly in a heartbeat over Emerald Reaver.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
And like Firefly still isn't good enough to make most of these decks. So it does seem like a strange decision.
There's arguments for it in Face Hunter.
Sure.
Because it's extra damage and it's a more aggressive 1-drop.
Yeah. Poor man's Leponome in that regard.
Sure.
Right. Yeah.
So, but in this, with Houndmasters, this seems like at least at the moment still a mid-range Hunter deck.
Mm-hmm.
Going to be the tracking from Diggin and Norway here. No play next turn. No. Kill command is good. Because next turn there's still just Hyena kill command into high main. Use kill command to actually control the board.
Yes.
Going forward, and then just use your 2 high mains to win the game. The Hyena is more of a bait in terms of, well, if it lives, awesome. If you have to focus on killing it, then the high mains are progressively more safer. And then kill commands are used to just kill the minions and just control the board.
No, I like it. That's the line I see as well. Using the Hyena similarly to how a lot of high-level players will use Questing Adventurer in Rogue in some matchups in the previous meta, where they will play it just as a disruption turn and say, you know what, you just have this for now. You take your whole turn dealing with my Questing Adventurer, and then I will just drop another big threat on the following turn after you haven't developed onto the board.
Yeah, and this is interesting to me as well, because this develops more beasts on the board for the Hyena, but the Hyena is always going to be killed this turn.
Yes.
Every single day of the week. If there's not an answer for it in hand, the Houndmaster kills it. Whereas you could have had a second kill command and just go high main, double kill command, win, if you're that confident. Or, as I said earlier, kill command the opponent's high main, and then suddenly the power's not enough to kill yours on the board.
Right, I mean, well, I was looking at like kill command this turn to clear the board, then next turn you play Hyena kill command to leave the board potentially empty again.
Yep.
Then you have that big Hyena threat that needs some dealing with, and then you potentially get a free turn of tempo to go into the high mains.
Just gives you more flexibility, whereas this is like, well, my Hyena's dead no matter what. I've gained 2 1/1s. What does that actually do for next turn? I don't know. We'll see how it plays out, though. It doesn't mean it is more aggressive options. It can whip in a hero power.
Houndmaster number 2 coming down. Italy getting both Houndmasters in the early game is definitely a big deal for them. It's one of the huge tempo cards. And now the kill command does do work here. It does allow a board clear if Norway will want it. But it's a board clear with no tempo, which is the problem, which means if there was a high main from Italy, then it's just first high main coming down against you every single time. And first high main, if there hasn't been a blowout early game, the game then resets, and the next big question is who lands first high main, because then there's a ton of initiative in that sense as well.
Yeah, it's going to be the kill command for the clear. There's no real other option. Just developing Rat Pack is not going to do it.
There is an option, and that's hit face for 3. You don't have to respect this Houndmaster.
You don't. It's not a beast. It does not gain all the additional benefits of being a beast. We've seen both Houndmasters anyway, of course. And yeah, I guess this is pretty reasonable.
But now, on the merit of there not being a high main in hand for Italy, it means that potentially Norway can get back into this. Animal Companion Kill Command is not a good-looking turn right now. The Macaw being picked up means we'll probably see Macaw Companion Hero Power instead. Gentle Megasaur is a sizable beast, but we're not going to be seeing too much Murloc synergy from this deck, I imagine.
No, it's going to be nice to contend their high mains, though, the first section at least, because they are 5/4s, the Gentle Megasaurs.
That's actually a very good point. Was there any merit here in skipping the 2 damage from the hero power in order to generate a 5 power minion on the board to be able to trade with a high main?
Well, you've seen both kill commands as well, right? So
no, you've seen one and the other one got burnt to tracking, which you have no knowledge of.
Sorry. Yeah, so you've seen one kill command at least, which probably this early in the game is enough. Megasaur's probably just not going to get killed that easily on the board at this point. Because imagine if this was Huffer. What does Huffer even do? What does Leok even do? Actually, at this point. Hey, maybe the Megasaur was pretty good there, actually. Unless there's Murlocs in the deck. Just pulls out Wally to Finger next turn off the top, and you're like, okay. Never mind, that Megasaur was sick off the Macaw.
Oh, that doesn't look too promising for Italy. This game right in the balance as well, so I think there was an attack that's been missed from the Houndmaster this turn already, so I hope that they can connect back to the game in good time, but either way, they've already missed pushing some damage, which would be a huge deal in the Hunter Mirror.
Yeah, absolutely huge, and something's going crazy here since Italy missed an attack. Diggens turned into Rexar. It's all going crazy at this point, so it looks like there's some potential connection issue, and we'll get that checked out and see what's going on there, but even in this board state at least, the high main, even... Oh, Norway's offline as well. Okay, Car as well, so I'm naturally just going for Rexar. He's a good friend of mine. And I think he should win. But yeah, Diggen is just Rexar at this point. But looks like we are getting back into the game. It's going to be a regame, as we mentioned earlier. We can see from Diggen's Hunter style that there is nesting rocks in this list. So I know a good friend of mine, Nick Chipper, who likes his Hunter decks, has been playing a lot of nesting rock recently, which is a surprise because I've seen a lot of Hunters on ladder just not even use that card at all. But he values it quite highly.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, if we go back to the Tolvir Warden thing we were talking about, Nesting Rock doesn't have particularly aggressive stats either for a 5-drop, but it has 2 things going for it that the Warden doesn't. Firstly, the Taunt effect. If it activates, that means that you have a couple of small annoying minions that are pushing for 1 or 2 every turn on the board. A big 4/7 Taunt to protect those small annoying minions actually nets you some damage, even though the Nesting Rock itself isn't very aggressive. Secondly, it's a beast. That was a Black Knight. It's a beast, so a 4/7 body is actually a fantastic target for Houndmaster. Like a 3/5 Tolvir Warden would be a lot more forgivable if you could then Houndmaster it.
Oh, the card would be significantly better, yeah. But yeah, Black Knight. I told you the Hunter can struggle versus Tom Warrior, and this is how you get around it. You play at least some form of tech. We see Deadly Shot and Black Knight. Definitely tech to beat Tom Warrior.
Yeah, absolutely. That has to be the thinking here, I imagine. And Italy and Yawgmoth are just going to go ahead and triple 1-drop or double 1-drop, but 3 individual tokens on the board. This would be an absolute blowout for a potential Hyena follow-up. And just maximizing the chances of Crackling Razormaw being able to get flexible value, maximum options as to which beast they want to adapt.
Yeah, I think, wow. Another a timely alley cat draw, even though I imagine it might get skipped this time, although the grandmother does just die to the board anyway.
Yeah.
The thing here is we can see both hands. Razormaw this turn, Rat Pack turn after, Houndmaster turn after that.
Yes.
This is looking very, very good indeed for the Italian team here.
Now the interesting question is, what's the plan here with the adapt? Because you can... I think I like adapting one of the cats first, and then if you get +1/+1, you can value trade. If you don't get that option, you can just choose to take like +3 attack on the buffed cat, use the other 2 minions that you didn't adapt to just completely trade out the Kindly Grandmother and just have a 4/1 hitting face. +1/+1 I think is just the best option overall though, just to get the value trade, complete dominant board position at that point.
Yeah, looks like that's going to be the play. I'm always a fan of attack and just go face. But yeah, this is looking pretty good in general. The bat can go straight into the wolf version of the grandmother. Play that up, and again, just such a dominant position here. Infested Wolf, not what Diggen needs at the moment. Can't even alley cat and kill command this turn to be able to just, try and battle for the board here. It's just going to be a straight up kill command. It's going from bad to worse.
And that leaves them with no answer in hand. They Animal Companion draw from Italy, but I think I like the Rat Pack pickup potentially here because you have the Houndmaster follow-up. Rat Pack's such a fantastic target to hit with that Houndmaster buff.
Yeah, the Huffer play could be good, but in general, Rat Pack is just more secure here. Houndmaster being available, and then just into Animal Companion, hero power for turn 5 anyway. High main again, just not what Digger needs at all. Nothing really does anything to the board. Infested Wolf is going to be as good as it's going to get, help trade away some of these minions, but you can see just from Diggan's body language here, he's just like, I'm just so far behind. Sorry, I need to say Kodo. Rhino on 5 next turn as well. This is kind of insane.
And
Will you ever trade away?
With the buffed Rat Pack as well, that's so many 1/1s he can potentially charge next turn if there's a trade available on the board.
Do you ever consider trading here, clearing the board?
I don't mind it. I mean, I wouldn't hate it. You're in such a comfortable position that either line, but you know, pushing another 7 right now, already at 18. Animal Companion is sometimes burst damage. Tundra Rhino is at least always another 2, and at some point, Unleash the Hounds gets value. If you just start adding up your hand, you're pretty close to just killing them right now.
Yeah, very much the way you play Hunter as well. Well, like I said, once you cross, there's a threshold. It changes every single game based on what's going on. But like you said, you push them past 20 when you've took 0 damage. And this is going to, oh my god, deadly shot into the worst of the cats. And the best target for Yawgmoth on board as well. That couldn't have been any worse for Diggan. Just going to try and battle for the board as much as possible. But I mean, this is 8, 10, 12, 14 damage available. Oh.
4, 8, 10, 15, 17
just put it
now,
to 1
off. Yeah, you just do it. There's no way that you can die. Kill Command Hero Power Face, no healing, no way to kill you from 30 from this position. That just locks out the game. You could present an argument that because these deck lists aren't revealed, you just continue to play more normally, if you like, and continue to dominate the board. Not just in case of something weird in the opponent's deck, but I'm literally just playing the most severe of Devil's Advocates in that situation. Kill Command Face, Hero Power Face is the play. Raven, that is gimmick infringement. That is purely
Admirable and TJ.
Reserved for Admirable and TJ.
Yeah, I mean, this is the correct play 100% of the time. You put them to 1. There is no way they can dig themselves out. I mean, and this is the key turn, last turn, as you mentioned, you can push enough damage to get you far enough ahead that it's unlosable. You steamroll so much for the extra damage. The kill command was just the final nail in the coffin, and Italy take a lead against moment.
Swerve! It's a Zoo Mirror.
Yep,
Never mind.
Let's do this. Devilsaur Egg, one of the coolest cards coming out for Zoo. It's pretty much just +1 on everything that a Nerubian Egg was, except for attack, of course. 3 mana 0/3, summon a 5/5. It's going to be pretty good here, but kind of even more so, you kind of need the Argus, right?
It's too slow to have really in the early game against Zoo unless you have that guaranteed activator, and even then, like
still pretty slow.
Keeping Devilsaur Egg and Pterodax in your opening hand just seems really sketchy as well. You need to push for 1-drops. That already didn't see the full mulligan, but looks like a much better hand. Yes, oof. That is in fact a much better hand for Turner and Italy, but the 1-drops are coming out to play from both sides here. Xerez, though, has the initiative of going first, which again, similar to the Hunter mirror. Aggro mirrors, you do want to be the one taking initiative and dropping first onto the board.
Yeah, really interesting as well that Turner's opening 4 cards without the coin and run was effectively 7 1-drops in 4 cards.
Wait, what? Oh, with Villager as well.
To a certain extent. To a certain extent. It's just kind of funny that there's like that much value from 4 cards. It's kind of insane, but you know, these decks are definitely interesting ones. We see Leroy used here for Xyrates. Yeah, I think he just loves Leroy. He just loves that card. He always plays it in Rogue, no matter what.
Yeah.
I'd be amazed if it wasn't in his Quest Rogue for some reason. Just because he likes it that much.
I want to pay 5 mana for my 5/5 charger instead of 1. Yeah.
Maybe.
Both players now going off with the Fireflies, and Firefly, such a huge card for Zoo. It's a huge card for a lot of decks, but it's so along the lines of that kind of possessed villager effect that you were talking about. The idea of Zoo, when you boil it down, is you play cheap, efficient stuff onto the board, you buff it, you trade into your opponent's stuff more efficiently than they can, and then over time, you have more stuff than they do. That is the very just simple Zoo 101, and things like Firefly just continually generate more resources to you, and a 1/2 in Zoo is more than a 1-2 in any other deck. Less so now because of the loss of power overwhelming, but still, your Direwolf Alphas, your Defender of Argus, whatever buff effects you're playing, those make your 1-2s more powerful than just the mere sum of its stats.
Yeah, I think the lack of power overwhelming, Abusive Sergeant being nerfed, and Peddler going away has really had a huge impact on the power of Zoo. Imagine Zoo now if those cards are available and you had to card like Firefly.
No, I don't want to.
That's a pretty reasonable answer, because it would be terrifying indeed and would definitely be top tier. We do see Zyra's using Abusive Sergeant though, so he's going to get some work done now.
That Abusive Sergeant is UC.
Yeah, it's going to be really nice. These Flame Elementals from the Fireflies just going to overrun, turn it on the board, and Defender of Argus is one turn away at the moment. Voidwalker, a reasonable pickup. But again, there's already, 2 minions on board that can trade into Voidwalker and still live, never mind what Zyras draws.
Yeah, and you see Zyra's quite deliberately playing the 1-2s over the Possessed Villager, because the Possessed Villager can actually be value traded to an extent by a 1-2, whereas the 1-2s trading into other 1-2s is much, much more difficult. He'd rather have these higher health minions on the board because he knows Firefly is now a common card he's going to come up against. Voidwalkers are still yet to come down, so the 1-2s just have more valuable trades available to them.
Yeah, no true surprise there, the run going for Living Spores. +1/+1 is reasonable. Untargetable doesn't make much sense in a Warlock Mirror because it's all minion trading, but the 2 1/1 plants you get from the Death Rod is actually pretty huge here. Defender of Argus on demand for Zyras here. And you can see turn already just like, oh my god, this is going from bad to worse. All these value trades, these minions are somehow still alive, and this is looking very, very bad for Turner indeed.
Doomguard is a big whiff as well. It's a great card to have on 5. It's a great card to have when you have the initiative. It's a terrible card to have when you're just looking for some gas to drop on this turn 4, and when you're facing down a wide board of little tiny minions like this, it's not efficient for Doomguard to be able to deal with this board state.
Yeah, not even close, and it looks like it's going to have to be just a life tap from Turner, I think, at this point. Still on 29, so his health is okay.
He can trade an Argus the 2 1/1s that come out if he wanted to. It's not great, but it might just fight for the board enough to allow Doomguard to swing back the next turn.
Yeah. It's really tough, isn't it?
I mean, that play is like a solid 5 out of 10. The question is, if you life tap, are you finding a 6 or 7 out of 10 play as the alternative?
Especially because the Fireflies don't, they actually deal with a lot of the minions on 1 health anyway. So this 2 attack on these plants doesn't matter that much on the board. There is the Defender of Argus on there and the Firefly, but in general, just not going to be too impactful here. Ravenous Pterodactyl is going to be drawn for next turn, and there is plenty of options, especially with the Possessed Villager coming down for Zyras, no doubt, this turn.
So Direwolf on the right-hand side between these two, and then play Possessed Villager on the extreme right, allows him to pick up 2 value trades this turn instead of 1. He's actually just choosing to respect the trade. That plays around exactly Doomguard, the trade he made. It's often quite weird to see a Taunt minion making a trade that's going to happen for the opponent. That's just one of the benefits of Taunt, is that you don't have to make those kind of trades. But he's playing around Doomguard specifically here by not allowing the Doomguard to pick up the value trade on the Taunt minion, and then the 2/3 gets a value trade into the Direwolf Alpha.
Yeah, really nice play here from Zyras, and Ravenous Pterodactyl combined the life tap, potentially, then Leroy on top. You can almost already see how the game will be played out here, as long as this Pterodactyl does not completely whiff on its adapts.
Does it ever?
Well, that's what I mean with 2 choices.
Right.
You're even plus attack, right?
Yeah.
Just plus attack, 1 beats Doomguard.
Yeah.
And then also just punches them in the face a lot. And then you have a second choice, which worst one is Taunt, but then anything else is good. So you're feeling pretty confident. Plus attack Wind Fury is the dream, though.
If he can get it down on an empty board, which he can do here, then yes, absolutely, though that kind of stat line is the dream. But you're going to trade off the Possessed Villager. I imagine the token is still going to get eaten here. Darkshire Councilman is appealing, but I'm imagining we're going to see the Pterodactyl here instead.
Right, would have already played it as well to gain the +1 from the token trade for the Villager, so it's okay. It's going to be the Pterodactyl going on the left. Nom at plus health, reasonable, and
the speed!
Yeah, at 8 PM, and now suddenly a 6/8 on the board. Well, 5/8, but it'll gain against the +1 from the Direwolf anyway. And like we said, there's now Leroy, Patches, Councilman. This is all falling apart for Team Italy here.
Yeah, the patches draw are obviously not ideal for Norway, but it also means they haven't drawn the Bloodsail Corsair early, which isn't really too much of an effective card in this matchup anyway. Of course, playing Bloodsail Corsair and summoning patches for free would have been preferable, but if you're going to draw patches, I'm sure Norway will appreciate that it's coming out in a game where they're already almost certainly a lock to win.
Yeah, there's just 19 available on the board and hand this turn. Obviously, Direwolf Dying is going to change that. It just doesn't matter anymore at this point. You can actually just play Leroy into the Doom Guard and then trade patches in the 1/1 away.
You could play
guard the Pterodactyl.
You could play Leroy and value trade the Doom Guard with the Pterodactyl.
True, yeah.
Hit face with the Leroy and then do the same.
Yeah. True. That makes more sense. I'll give you that one. Oh, even a Voidwalker now. All the options available.
Councilman just coming down. This means 6. Yeah, there's going to be, what, 8, 9, 10, 11 power on board the next turn with the Leroy coming from hand. That's 17 plus another 1 buff to the Darkshire Councilman. So much damage coming through. Pterodax with no minions in play. Big whiff. A little bit better still than Defender of Argus in that regard because it plays down as a 4/4 instead of a 2/3. But still significantly less than ideal. He tapped looking for a 1-drop there, I think, just trying to be able to generate...
Plus health and taunt.
Right,
reasonable.
a big Divine Shielded taunt, taunt plus 1/1s, health plus taunt, those kind of combinations. No such luck, though. Ravasaur Run and Pterodax are both cards that are better when playing with friends, and Turner and Italy, sadly, have no friends right now.
No, this is... I had a few jokes there. Seem a bit harsh. But yeah, definitely...
Cut loose, Raven. Come over to the dark side.
Never.
It's warm over here. We have
God, it's just the Vader and Luke scene, isn't it?
We have all the best toys, I swear.
Okay, I'll take your word for it for now. But yeah, the Pterodax in the run, definitely not great here. And, you know, you can see the sort of... You can't see his mouth, but you can see the shakes of the head and the movements to show that Turner's just talking it over with his teammates, but... This is probably just, let's play one more turn. It's probably going to be another couple of minutes, and then we lose. You may as well see what happens. But this is going from bad to worse. There's the Bloodsail Corsair that we talked about earlier. But I believe it's just game at this point.
It's 18-19 with the Bloodsail Corsair buffing as well in total. I mean, it is just game.
Yeah, but lethal.
It is not lethal, no. This will do nicely, though. Almost certainly a guaranteed setup for the next turn. Lethal represented on board, plus 6 damage from Leroy in hand to push through a taunt if they even needed to. Defender of Argus picked up. They can make a 3/3 taunt, but that's never going to get the job done.
Yeah, really interesting to see this Zoo mirror because I always wonder about how good Zoo actually is at the moment, and it's hard to tell because Zyra's looks super dominant in the mirror, right? You know, if this was any other deck, how good would it have actually, how well would it have actually performed? So we'll maybe get to see that in some more matches today if anyone else picks Warlock, but this one just kind of got dominant from the start and it was very reminiscent of Zoo in its history, right, in the mirrors. Anyone who gets ahead normally stays ahead. There's not really a lot of combat mechanics for Zoo.
Yeah, there was a couple of points, you know, when we were at peak implosion frustration, that was a time where maybe the Zoo mirror swung a little bit more than we used to. But in most iterations of Zoo, in most metagames, the person who gets a significant lead on the board come turn 3, turn 4 is usually just going to snowball to victory. And Norway, their lead on turn 3, turn 4 was enormous. Yep. They'd spread across, I think, 5 different bodies on the board of 1/1s and 1/2s, and that's just an insurmountable advantage in the Zoo mirror.
Yeah, and this is really interesting to me from Italy, as I don't understand how lethal on board through a play is ever a play you want to waste your time making, but it's fine. Italy are going down 1 game there from Norway, so Norway's going to be 1-2.
Mortal Drake in their test game mulligan. And yeah, War Leader gives away that it is going to be something along the lines of what we're seeing as the standard list these days. Early game Murloc board control into just insane late game power with your rewards from Stonehill Defender alongside Spike Ridge Steeds, Tyrians, etc., etc., etc. Priest, still not full information based on what we're seeing here. The Pyromancer is the one nod that this probably isn't Dragon Priest. It's some kind of draw-heavy Lyra Priest or combo Priest. So that means it's probably not just going to be a straight-up value battle. It's actually going to be possibly the Priest playing the aggressor in this matchup, which is a little bit strange to say, particularly if there's a Divine Spirit in a Fire combination in this deck, which there, I'd say usually is, not always. There's a couple of lists that don't play that as a win condition, but if it is in there, it's going to be Priest looking to get the killing done in this matchup, which is not a phrase I've done too often in my multiple years of Hearthstone casting experience.
Yeah, we see the Valfin Inquisitor now means that, yes, this is just, you know, what looks to be, even with the Ivory Knight here, the atypical, popular Murloc list at the moment.
Did you say atypical?
With the typical.
Okay. I think it's like, you say atypical, like
with,
singular
yeah,
typical.
yeah.
You need to be very careful of saying that,
A-
because it means the exact opposite of what you want to say.
A single,
Yeah.
the single typical.
Right.
Whatever, Paladin list. And we do see this does look like a combo. And with Blade Masters, it looks like it is going to be the Divine Spirit in a fire.
Most likely,
Because
yeah.
a lot of the times when you don't play the in a fire list, there's no reason to play a Blade Master. There are better cards, right?
Yeah, most of the time, yeah. And this hand is looking explosive. It is missing one piece of just an absolute massive wombo combo, which is that Northshire Cleric. If he can get all this together, Pyro, proc it once to injure the board, Cleric and Circle to just refresh and draw that into an entirely new hand. That is how you win games with Priest.
Difference between me and you. The one piece I'm thinking about is an Inner Fire. Coin Blade Master. Oh no, Blade Master on 3. Circle of Healing, Coin Powered Shield, and then set up for an Inner Fire punch in the face.
And then Outdoor Peacekeeper feels bad.
Hey, I'm just saying, look.
Yeah, all right.
Options, Sol, options. But yeah, in general, we were talking about the matchup, is Priest actually just kind of runs out of ways to deal with the sheer value, the late game value alone that Paladin can put out. There is no Entomb anymore, which is one of the key ones to do with Tyrion, especially with cards like Hydrologist, means that Redemption and Getaway Kodo can get even more impact value. You know, imagine Shadowwood Death and Tyrion into Getaway Kodo. Here, have a free Ashbringer.
Yes.
You can play Tyrion again, which is one of the ways, as a Paladin, you actually win the control late game matches.
Yeah, I've seen some Priest lists even that aren't, humongous Razor Leaf Silence Priest, just teching in copies of Silence effects. Just, a single 0-mana Silence. Sometimes the 5/5, whose name I've forgotten, Cabal Songstealer? Is that right? Yeah.
Yes.
Just to deal with those kind of problems, because without Sylvanas available to you now as Priest, and without Entomb, those are two of your big answers to huge problematic minions like Tyrion gone. Sylvanas, Shadow Death, steal your Tyrion, ruin all your fun, and just Entomb your Tyrion, steal it that way and ruin all your fun. There is a theme with Priest in that they like to ruin all your fun. Priest players as well take a sick, twisted joy in stealing all your stuff and playing with your cards instead of their own.
Yep, new fact for the day, Sol's middle name is Anduin, so all that starts to make sense now.
Wait, what?
Priest players and priests enjoy ruining people's fun. Does that sound like someone we know, guys? I think so. But now getting back to the game and not allowing Sotil to argue with me, Aldor Peacekeeper is going to be drawn for Italy. And is this... I guess it's not because of the Vial Fin to develop more Murlocs. It's just to find hero power paths. But you could just play the Aldor Peacekeeper on curve.
I have never been that insulted. That is
That's
the
just
worst
untrue.
thing
That's just
anyone has ever said to me.
Called you Anduin?
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yes.
Going to speak to production. When your name pops up again, it's going to be Sotil.
Anyway, what was your question? I absolutely wasn't listening.
There's the only option here is on curve Aldor Peacekeeper, which sometimes is the play. But with the Vialfin hero power, actually just developing more Murlocs is actually pretty reasonable. In case there's a War Leader draw next turn, Gentle Megasaur as well can suddenly turn those Murlocs into absolute demons.
Yeah,
there's still Murlocs.
There's a good chance there are 4 extremely strong top decks for you next turn if you just develop another Murloc. And of course, from Italy's side, they have no perspective yet on whether or not they are facing an Inner Fire Priest. if they're facing an Inner Fire Priest, those outdoor Peacekeepers are key.
Ooh, almost
Because-
game-winning, right?
Right, they can be. You know, normally in this matchup, the Priest will be forced to respect that and almost be looking to OTK with their Inner Fire effects because they know those outdoors will be being held. The difference is, you know, sometimes they don't have that luxury. They just have to make a push with a 7-7 or a 6-6, something less ideal. Just try and Inner Fire some value onto the board and go that way. In those kind of cases, outdoor Peacekeeper can be absolutely crucial.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of the time you see like a big minion with a powered shield.
Yeah.
Pass. Because you outdoor it, sure. Then Inner Fire, or then Divine Spirit Inner Fire
Yeah.
comes down for a big punch. So yeah, completely agree. It's gonna be the Pyromancer into powered shield now, though. Gonna help clear off these Murlocs as turn 4 is Megasaur turn, and that again, as we said, could be absolutely backbreaking very early on. And that was Murloc War Leader. That would have been huge. Still is good. Means that this can this Valve can trade into the buffed Pyro, and you definitely want to get rid of that. So I do like this play. There's an answer for it in the form of the Shadow Word Pain, though. Huntrace attack.
Cabal Talon Priest picked up now, meaning that they are starting to get some of those methods of generating huge amounts of health on their minions, where they can start asking that kind of question that you were just talking about, with just, big health minions on the board. Are you scared of this enough to outdoor it preemptively? If so, I'll punish it for you afterwards. I'm sure Italy have enough experience and know how to not fall into that trap, but the question can now begin to be asked over the next couple of turns anyway.
Yeah, it's very tricky here, because there's even an option as, other than a Megasaur this turn, which doesn't do too much on one Murloc, really, there's a chance you can actually just go for Blade Master Circle if you just want to get a big guy on the board and ask that question already without overcommitting to it. I guess True Silver Champion is the punish for that.
Yes.
Without an additional health buff, so definitely something to think about. Just feels like Shadow Word Pain hero power feels very slow against a very board-focused deck in the form of the Paladin.
Yeah, the question really is how long are you willing to wait to find that Northshire Cleric? Because yes, he committed a Pyro already. He's found the second one though, so the Pyro combination with Cleric is still available. Yeah. And again, it is huge to what is essentially a fairly combo-based Priest deck to be able to make that kind of thing happen. And I do like this decision to kind of bail out on that plan, just start generating some board presence. They know do Norway that they can't wait for too long here to get themselves into this game, because if they just sit back and wait and allow Paladin to develop freely, those big late game threats that we were talking about earlier, they don't have clean answers to them. They are just going to force them out of the game very quickly.
Yeah, and I think it's in a very good position to deal with this Blade Master. They can Aldor it this turn, hero power. Next turn, they either Kodo it, or if it gets buffed up, they'll just play Tarim.
Excellent point.
Yeah, it's like they have like a backup plan for worst case scenario, because by playing the Aldor and hero power in, the Blade Master, if it receives buffs, can probably only deal with one minion.
You get a little tickle though, right? You wanna bump into it?
Nah, leave it.
Interesting.
Leave it, yeah, smoke him. Smoke him.
I guess he plays around Holy Nova a little. Yeah, he plays around Holy Nova completely by not making the trade. If he makes the trade, puts his Murloc down to 3-2, the Blade Master can trade into the one remaining 3-3, and then Holy Nova would blow them out. So this is a smart decision from Italy.
Yeah, this is really nice, having that comfortable spot to play Tarim or go for the Kodo as well. Shadow of Pain coming down on the wall either. Oh. Just I'm sorry. That's
Are you all right? No. Do you need a minute,
this
Raven?
Is a
if you need a minute, I can cover this.
Yeah, I'm just gonna have.
Okay.
Go.
Kodo value does also excite me. Kodo Baggins coming storming out of the Shire right now and devouring a 1-9.
Yeah, he's definitely equipped a Stinger going on there, killing an Orc as well, so very thematic. Apart from Kodo looks a little bit different than he did in the film. Ken, though, coming out from Italy. It could be not to actually playing a N'Zoth in this deck as well.
Very
Although
possible.
even N'Zoth, it's really weird as well. N'Zoth Paladin pretty much only has Ken and Tyrion. And just say, well, that's just enough to, if I bring this back, this is really hard to deal with.
Well, they have Ken and 3 Tyrions, right?
Oh,
they still play
Stonehill.
Stonehill Defender.
Of course. What was I thinking?
Yes.
Of course. Elise, nice card. We've talked a lot about Elise, how much we like it in the actual long-term value, but Huntrace is just kind of, guessing off the list, running out of ways to deal with a built-up board. One circle has already been used, so the Alkanized Circle to clear off a lot of a board is actually, very slim now because there's only one circle left. This could be tough. I think you might have to just drop a... Oh, maybe not. Okay. Hunter Race disagrees. I wonder if like you just have to drop Elise to just go for it at this point. It trades well versus the Kodo. Yes, you know, and the Talon Priest would live training into the 3/3 anyway.
Oh boy.
Kodo Baggins found a mount.
Spike Ridge Steed, while you have minions in play, is one of the most crushingly powerful cards printed in the new expansion. Of course it's dead when you're behind, which is why we're seeing 1 being played in a lot of decks as opposed to 2. You just want more solidly consistent things. Ivory Knight is one of the cards that's competing with it, as you see on the left-hand side. And with Ken in there as well, I don't imagine this list from Italy has room for 2 of these cards. But in this kind of position where you do have minions to land them on, they're extremely powerful.
Yeah, I wonder how good Ken is over Spike Ridge at this point as well, because Ken is just kind of a Spike Ridge in itself. He was the OG of just, you know, death rattle into a big minion anyway. And it's just, I think, more awkward for Hunter Race to deal with. Because if the Spike Ridge Steed comes down, worst case scenario, Shadow Word Death, Shadow Word Pain.
1 Pain has been used though, and Shadow of Death is actually cut from some of the priest lists.
Oh, really?
Most commonly, the Humongous Razor Leaf Silence build doesn't play Shadow of Death because they have all those silence effects for huge minions potentially anyway.
Okay, did go for the Spike Ridge Steed, so 5/8 with a Death Rattle into a 6/2 taunt. Sorry, 2/6 taunt. 6/2 taunt would be hilarious.
6/2 taunt.
Get him.
Would be one of the most bizarre cards they've ever printed.
So it wouldn't surprise me it being a card at some point.
There you go, yeah.
I got, oh, what did I get?
Cool story.
I got the Sabertooth, the 8/2 from something onto the board. What was it? Something happened. I got it straight onto the board. It was amazing. But yeah, it's not quite 6/2 taunt, 8/2 stealth. A little bit better. But there's my story finished. I know it was an exciting one.
I have a prediction that there is a certain emote going on in Twitch chat right now.
Does it begin with a C?
It does.
Okay,
yeah.
I thought so.
Careful. Twitch chat is saying something else.
Oh, okay, sorry. These 2 minions on the board now do trade into the first half of this Kodo. Now Italy can answer with a Elise of their own. But Tyrone is pretty good.
Now they didn't see a death land on this 5/8 Kodo as well. I mean, Tyrion is looking pretty appealing in this situation.
Yeah, this is the kind of insane power that the early Murlocs can give you, is that they stall, or just win the early game. If they don't, Tyrion, Elise, Tarim, Ken, Bloodhoof, you know, Spike Ridge Steed.
Ken,
it's
apparently.
Like, just dropping Ken, you know, so much value. Like, how do you even deal with this? It's going to go for the Drake instead, though. I mean, the Drake's another pain for the priest to deal with here, and Radiant Elemental. I think this is the main issue I have with this deck. It's so reliant on so many cards coming together as one.
Yes.
Means that, well, what do you do when you don't draw them? You just lose.
Well, I mean, a lot of boxes have to be checked before this deck truly draws dead, because if you don't find any of the crucial, you know, spell combo pieces that you do need, you have shadow visions to help you dig for them. So, you know, not only do you have to draw dead in terms of directly getting the answers, you also have to draw dead in terms of not hitting shadow visions. And then if none of that has happened, you always have the Cleric Pyro Circle engine to just fall back on, draw 6 or 7 cards in one turn. Then you have got some of those cards in your hand. So what we're watching here from Norway is a game where none of those things have happened. And that's an incredibly low percentage of the time.
Yeah. So there's an option here where there's Wild Pyro, Holy Nova. Doesn't even need it. Maybe not. Maybe you could Radiant Elemental. But you can Holy Nova and then actually Potion of Madness on the 2/6 to trade it in, help chip some damage on the Volcanic Drake. Doesn't kill it, of course, but does a good chunk of damage at least. And you kind of need to get value from these potions, right? Like, what are you waiting for in terms of
Look at Hunter Ace's body language right now. You can feel this slipping away, and Norway can feel the series slipping away in general. This Priest game, as we just mentioned, is just not lined up for him. And look at the value that's left that he has to try and fight his way through.
Wonder, there has to be Stonehills in the deck, right?
I mean, if you're playing this much value, maybe this is their thinking, is like, you know what, I could play Stonehill, but it's a little slow to play on turn 3 in the first place. What if I just put a bunch of more ridiculous value in my deck anyway, and then I
just play the cards I would want from Stonehill, you know, as opposed to actually play them themselves, but you can't get triple Tyrion.
You can't.
Or quadruple, potentially, as well.
With a getaway Kodo as well, yeah. just an embarrassment of riches. Just no idea how they want to just continue to fight onto this board because they're so far ahead. Elise is just another huge threat. Tyrion is another huge threat. Cairn would be a nightmare for Priest to deal with. They really just had to shut their eyes and pick an option at that point.
Apart from Tyrion.
Everything was so powerful except,
Tyrion's probably the one time you don't play him. But yeah, Tyrion looking good here and just too many threats indeed. Priest of the Feast, excuse me, could help a little bit. Can actually proc the shield on the Tyrion with a Potion of Madness. But then what? Like, nothing.
Yeah. Kill the 2/3 and either put some damage onto the Drake or clear the shield is the best use of potion, as you said. But beyond that, not a lot going on. And again, still no Shadow Visions, still no Acolytes that are in the deck sometimes. Lyra as well could have turned some of this dead junk in their hand into something impactful.
Well, as well, you look Radiant Elemental, Lyra, and then suddenly 2 0 mana potions, coin, you can start to do silly things, which is when I think the deck is at its strongest. But until then...
Is there anything? So Pyro, Potion of Madness, Holy Nova would allow them... I mean, they're going to be killing the 2/3 that they would Potion of Madness with the Pyro, Holy Nova anyway, so that doesn't even really achieve anything. I think they're just going to go with Priest of the Feast here, kill the 2/3, which is the best they can do, and just take their little bit of healing, distract Italy for now with the Priest of the Feast on the board, functioning as well as kind of a 3/6 taunt in this situation, because pushing damage past it never really makes a great deal of sense unless you have direct lethal set up, because they're almost certainly going to bounce back from it, especially this build of Priest, if you leave a Priest of the Feast alive on the board.
I'm kind of surprised we're not seeing I'm pretty sure it's still in rotation. The pint-sized potion. Surprised we're not seeing that played in this deck.
It's still in the game, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Because how sick would that be? Pint-sized potion would be nuts.
What are you combining it with, though? You want to play, like...
Potion of Madness?
Potion of Madness, yeah, I guess.
Could trade it off the Tyrion, right?
Sure.
In some instances. But yeah, you know, I'm not saying it's game-winning, but you're using a lot of cheap spells anyway. It becomes really, cheap with Radiant Elemental, and it can cause these double Potion of Madness everyone's running to be more useful against control decks as well. We're only talking about this because Italy can again just close their eyes and probably just pick a card, go face.
Yeah, the only frustrating thing for them is that, all of their high-value cards have cost 6 or above so far. They haven't been able to make a double 4-drop turn, a double 5-drop turn. It has just been 1 card per turn.
Only Tyrion into Cairn.
Right, which, I'm trying to find the silver lining, and that's about the one thing they've had going for them so far. Double Holy Nova now in hand. Potion of Madness coin double Holy Nova is available, but that's only doing 5 to one of the taunt minions. Doing 5 to the Cairn would be relatively useful, but they can't get that Potion of Madness 1/1 to get through to the 4/5. So even then, it's just not looking great. Is the Pyro play any good again this turn? Still doesn't deal with the 4/8.
If they had pint size, they could steal Cairn, trade it into the Tyrion.
Be quiet.
Still Tyrion, trade it into the
Well, some feeling it might have rotated, actually.
You think?
We'll find out.
Yeah.
Someone's
already let us know.
I'm sure. Yeah,
probably cast a misplay. But yeah, it's still looking grim. There's not a lot you can even battle for here. There's still Tyrion. There's still Elise. There's a true silver champion. There's value from the Ivory Knight as well. You can just consecrate him in the face for the fun of it next turn if you really want and still be in a strong position. So this is looking like too much of an uphill climb here for Hunter Ace.
Yeah, Hunter Ace and Norway just taking every second they can here to try and find an optimal solution to this. But this might just be the last turn they have in this game. 23 they're going up to now. There's still 14 power on board, 18 from True Silver, 20 from Consecration, but there could just be a board state developed here that is going to force the concede from Norway on the following turn unless something absolutely spectacular happens.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Italy could True Silver into True Silver, then swing and still win the game at this point with a Murloc hero power to finish up the turn. I wouldn't mind seeing Ivory Knight now. See if you can get Blaster Kings or something. Sure. Just finish up the game quick. You can still play a True Silver champion. Oh, you skip the Murloc. Who cares at this point? Here we go. Any options? Oh, Spike Ridge.
Avenging Wrath.
Adapt Wind Fury on Tyrion, go.
would be, what, 6, 12, 16, 20? Still wouldn't be lethal this turn. I mean, Avenging Wrath is 8 extra damage as opposed to the 6 that would be anyway. You can't cast it this turn. Since it's not lethal, it's just more damage over time anyway.
But Wind Fury Tyrion, though,
is a compelling argument, I will admit. You have swayed me with your logic and reason, Raven.
As always, as always. It's going to be the Spike Ridge Steed just to pretty much just drill a final nail into the coffin as it wasn't already there. Maybe a few extra nails just to make sure. Because there is just no way out here for Norway. No way out here. There we go.
Hey, look.
That's what I'm going to use in the future.
Those are some cards that we'd have liked to have had in our hand for several turns this game, says Hunter Ace.
Yeah, this is what's supposed to happen like turn 3 or 4, right?
Exactly. Hunter Ace resumes standard thinking stance. Deciding whether to throw out the Pyromancer first here, I think, is the decision that they're looking for.
Ungoro.
Finds the Ungoro pack.
Now he needs coin, Deathwing. As if Deathwing was in Ungoro.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
These are some of the cards he would need to win this game at this point, and even then it's going to be tough. We're going to open the pack though. We're going to have some fun.
Legendary.
Ooh.
Razor Petal Volley is 3 cheap spells combined, but they have no way to buff the health of the Pyro. They can Razor Petal, they can Pyro cast 1 spell, then Holy Nova to heal the Pyro for 1, then cast a 3rd spell. That's the best they can possibly do. Yeah.
Not going to be enough. They can effectively play a Senjin, but heal.
All right, they found it. They found it. Hunter Ace sees the lines.
Hero
the
Power
opponent.
Emote.
There you go.
Works every time.